All right, so we talked about the Red Star Regulus, Chris Bledsoe. We're going to talk about who is he, what's going on, the Hopi Red Star, Blue Star, and the tablets. I gave you exact dates, and now we've passed a few of those, but let me talk about the real dates from astronomers, not astrologists, astronomers, of when these stars are supposed to actually rise and where. I'm going to give those dates because they're a little bit different. What's the blue star, the red star, and how do the Hopi prophecies connect to Chris Bledsoe, who's a current predictor of certain things? Of course, nobody knows the actual dates, but I'm going to tell you what you can expect from this, the actual dates, because we're going into it in the next few weeks, and all of 2026 is a critical year. And what happens when those stars appear, if at all? What does it actually mean? I think you're going to love this because this is more scientific, but it actually takes you into consciousness, which is exactly how we're living now. And that's real, and that's science. Well, let's talk a little bit about that. Let's go. So, welcome to Landria Onkka on YouTube. We're going to talk about what's going on, the craziness. Now, who's Chris Bledsoe? What was the Hopi prophecy? What's this thing about blue stars and tablets? I'm going to talk about that. But most of all, I'm going to connect those stars, the blue and the red stars, because they keep coming up. What are they? And what Chris Bledsoe say that has come and passed, but has it really? I'm going to talk about consciousness. In fact, on Friday, I'm going to release one on consciousness that you don't want to miss because this is when we become co-creators, no longer students trying to use techniques to change things. We must be. I'm going to teach you how to do this. This is super powerful. So let's talk about the blue star and the red star, Regulus. They're two sides of the celestial coin. This is the official frequency handover from the old patriarchal world to the new feminine timeline. And Chris Bledsoe spoke of the divine, the feminine divine coming into play, and that was supposed to happen. In fact, I believe it's going to happen in April. We'll see about that too. Now, who's Chris Bledsoe? Well, Chris Bledsoe was an abductee quite some time ago, or like 20 years ago, and went through heck and back because he stuck to his story. People witnessed this, and he's been visited. Now, you've heard about near-death experiences. Once people go to the other side, they seem to open a portal when they come back, and they still are connected somehow. Some get all kinds of extra talents. They become very psychic. They still see things. Chris is one of those people. All right. Now, he has not shared everything with us, but he's starting to share more and more. One thing he has shared is there is a golden lady that has visited him for quite some time every Easter, right around Easter time. Why? Because at one point he was so fed up with being ostracized by everyone for claiming to have been on a craft or to see aliens or beings. Let's just say beings, right? We're going past the physical alien thing and going into non-human entities. Who knows what that is? And so he was ostracized by his church, by everybody pretty much. And he was broke and sick. And he said, "No more. I am so done with this." And so she appeared. And she said to him that she would help him, that this was his burden to bear. Now, you might want to watch some of those videos because this is actually his words that he shared, and that she shares things that she saw in the future that were to come. Now, he just recently shared that big things will happen, and this was way before we went into our little scuffle over here in the Middle East. Big things were going to happen when missiles fired between Israel and Iran. And we are right at it now. So a lot of you say, well, there are no dates. I'm going by Edgar Cayce, Dolores Cannon, the Hopi prophecies, and Chris Bledsoe. We're actually going by events. How do these events play out? They're controlled by the consciousness of the collective. This is why even the solar flares, as Edgar Cayce said, are controlled by human consciousness. So when they don't happen, guess what? Our communications must be on a higher frequency. And so things calm down. Does it mean things aren't going to happen? No, there's a lot of payback going on here. So Chris has shared that now she's going to share information with him. And so it really changed his life. People started to take him seriously. I take him seriously. Now, he's going to, of course, like anybody, we've talked about Bashar and all kinds of people, egos can skew results. My message here is that I'm not going to give you exact dates. I'm going to give you information. I'm going to give you my take on that because my take is that no one knows an exact date. All right. No one can know exact date. Why? Because we control it at every moment. So if there's something that you don't want to happen in your personal life or out there, if you shift into a new consciousness and you got to stay in it and be it, you can change the events. I believe that's what's happening right now. The Schumann resonance has gone up. So many of you are feeling this and saying, what do I do with this? Electrical impulses, sleepy, feeling weird, picking up on stuff going on out there. Well, let me share something with you. There's a lot of good stuff going on out there too. Try to pick up on that because you want to participate in it because we are changing the planet right now. That old way of doing things, it is not working. It is self-destructive, so destructive to our planet. And the new way is the Hopi Blue Star way. It's the Chris Bledsoe red star Regulus. Well, he said red star. It's actually a blue star. But then he corrected himself because when he found out what the star was, he found out it is a white blue star. However, it's going to appear as a red star over the Sphinx. Now, I have actual dates for you on that. What does it mean? I'm going to share with you exactly what it means. All right. So Chris Bledsoe was told that in April, this is April of 2026, the star Regulus will turn red over the Sphinx. Now, I just want to correct something because he did share that something was going to happen between March 15th and 20th. It was pretty big. He didn't know what it was. He didn't say it was the star Regulus. He just said that there was something that may happen. He flew to France. We haven't heard a peep. He also said there would be something that the world would know about. So we're going to talk about consciousness, but okay, it's not always just an event that causes all these big reactions. It could be consciousness. However, he claims that there's a big event that the world would know about. That's what I'm sort of anxious to see because I think it would be a lot of fun, frankly. Ancient Hopi prophecy says that the blue star will soon remove its mask. These aren't two separate events. They're the biological birth announcement of the divine feminine. Okay, that is predicted by both sides, right? And many others. What is that? Women, if we were in charge, this stuff wouldn't be going on, right? It'd be a different world. And that's what we're going to shift into. That is giving and a collective oneness of compassion and love. It's not easy to stay in that space, but this is your biggest test. So if you felt a sudden surge in your heart center or a pull toward Unitarian consciousness, you are feeling the Regulus Blue Star alignment in your own blood. It's happening. It's going in alignment. It's going to affect your consciousness. All right. So it may not be an event. We're humans. We always think it has to be an event. A craft is going to land on the White House lawn. It's never going to happen. It's the last place they'd land. Or some big thing's going to happen. Mary's going to appear. Well, that has happened. And it's not saying it can't, but maybe it's just the shift in consciousness that we're missing the point of. So let's talk about the factual alignment, the Sphinx connection, the new knowledge Bledsoe mentions in his talks isn't an apocalypse. It's the disclosure of consciousness. And you're going to hear a lot of conversations happening right now with scientists and everybody about that even the craft and the visits happening out there, they're looking less like physical craft and more like orbs and light beings. Maybe those visitations aren't coming from another planet at all. Maybe they are in other dimensions, higher beings. Maybe not all higher, but I think they are. I think they care about us. Let's talk about the Hopi tablet link. I talked about the missing piece of the Hopi tablet is the feminine principle. The world ends because the old way of thinking is no longer biologically supported. That world ends, not the world, That world ends. So there's a missing piece of the Hopi tablets, and supposedly there will be the big white brother, I don't know what that is, will appear and we'll have the other piece. Is that physical? Are these physical? Or are these actually just sort of prophecies in a more esoteric way presented to us? We're going to find out. Buzzing and vagal nerve symptoms. The feminine era is characterized by receptivity, bestowal rather than aggression, survival. The shocking truth, those who resist the feminine shift, clinging to control and fear, that includes you. Control and fear, are you afraid? You're blaming? They're this, you're still talking about the governments and the people in power? That's separation, okay? They will experience the most friction in 2026. And you're going to see it and hear it. And if you're feeling that, some of you are feeling some real sadness and anxiety because you are in an awakened state. And it's very difficult to be around the low frequencies and seeing what's going on out there. But I assure you, the signs that are going to show up are meant to give us hope and renewal. And that's because human beings need that. We sit in our homes and we're by ourselves. And what am I going to do? The hope and renewal of seeing something, a sign to let us know that we're going to be okay and that something is shifting is exactly what these symbols represent. When this appears, a new knowledge will begin. A new knowledge. What is the knowledge? I believe it's the knowledge of what we really are and where we come from, and the knowledge of what we are now beyond our human form. I believe we're going to understand that we are consciousness first and human form second, and that consciousness creates the human form. As of March 2026, the astronomical data and the Chris Bledsoe prophecy are aligning in a way that is creating a massively curiosity gap here on YouTube. Here are the facts that you need to know. What is Regulus? They call it the Little King. The blue star Regulus is a quadruple star system located approximately 79 light years away. The primary star, Regulus A, is a blue-white subgiant. It is much hotter and younger than our own sun. The heart of a lion, it marks the heart of the constellation Leo. Anciently, it was one of the four royal stars of Persia, the guardians of the sky, representing the north and the summer solstice. Now, on March 20th, was it March 20th? We went into the spring equinox, okay? We are now in a new era. We had the planets align on February 28th. That happens once every 80 years. And last time it did, the Berlin Wall came down. I was actually over there when that happened. It was pretty cool. It is egg-shaped. Regulus spins so fast once every 16 hours that it is physically distorted into an egg shape. If it spun 10% faster, it would fly apart. So let's talk about the 2026 alignment, when and where. The Bledsoe window revolves around a specific celestial event involving the moon, Regulus, and the Sphinx. We haven't heard about the moon part, but I'm going to explain it to you. March 20 was the spring equinox. Regulus rises due east directly in the line of sight of the Sphinx just before sunrise. That was March 20th. Let's talk about April 5th, Easter Sunday. Chris Bledsoe specifically identified Easter or thereabouts 2026 as a pivotal date for the shift in humanity's knowledge. All right, not necessarily some big event, although I do believe that's going to happen this year. April 25th through 26th, the lunar occultation. The moon will pass directly in front of Regulus, causing the blue star to disappear and reappear. Now we know what that is. In olden days, they were like, ooh, the sun gods are punishing us. The red star mystery. In Bledsoe's interviews, he mentions the lady who told him the star would be red. Well, astronomically, Regulus is blue-white. This shocking discrepancy is pretty cool. There are two factual ways to look at this. Atmospheric refraction, when a star is exactly on the horizon, as Bledsoe describes, sitting on the horizon before daylight, the Earth's atmosphere acts as a lens, often making blue stars appear vividly red or orange. You've seen our moon turn blood red, right? That's what can happen. So the red star Regulus, he said, he found out later on it's a blue star. He was just repeating what he heard. So maybe it's going to appear red. That is absolutely possible. The binary companion, while Regulus A is blue, it has a companion pair, Regulus BC, that includes a red dwarf. Some theorists suggest a frequency shift or a physical rotation would bring the red light to the forefront. So let's not poo-poo everybody who does throw out dates, and he's gutsy enough to do that. But he's preparing us for an era that is shifting us, and I believe it is going to be felt more consciously than visual. But I think that these astronomical events are going to take us into the space that says, yes, we are one. This is happening. Okay, let's talk about the history in the feminine divine. What's the Sphinx connection? The Sphinx was built to face the rising sun on the equinox. However, in the age of Leo, that was 10,500 BC, it faced the constellation Leo and Regulus directly. So Regulus keeps coming into this picture. Regulus has technically moved from the sign of Leo to Virgo, the virgin and maiden, the feminine, right? The Leo, the line into the feminine. These can't be coincidences. The new knowledge in 2026, this move into Virgo is being interpreted as the return of the feminine divine. It's all matching. The king is being tempered or birthed, that's Regulus, by the maiden, Virgo, marking the end of the patriarchal era of war and the start of an era of intuition and unity. So no matter what's happening over there, let's watch what turn of events happen. And no matter what, remember that is a choice of a lower frequency old world that will continue in chaos until it self-destructs, dissolves, or decides to make another choice. We must maintain balance in a new world and explore consciousness. I'm going to share with you how to do that. By the way, I'm going to talk about that in that next video, but I'll give you a hint at the end of this video of something you can do that will blow your mind using consciousness that's working now. Chris Bledsoe said that the star will be red, but astronomers say it's blue. Both are right. In 2026, the blue star of the Hopi and the red Regulus of the Sphinx are meeting at the exact same coordinate in our DNA. It is not an apocalypse, it's a biological disclosure. Scientists are even saying DNA is shifting. We had junk DNA, there's all this DNA, there was nothing going on. Why? It was waiting for this moment. And your DNA is changing, and there are actual tests going on to prove that. I'm going to explore more of that in upcoming videos. So now let's talk about Chris Bledsoe mentioned October 7th. Now he's talked about something else happening on the 7th. Well, I'll tell you about the October 7th date. The date is the hidden second half of the Bledsoe prophecy. While most of the internet, and by the way, I say he's getting this from the lady. He's not doing it. He's getting this information from this divine being, okay? While most of the internet is focused on Easter 2026, the October date holds a different, perhaps more factual astronomical weight. Here are the hard facts regarding Regulus and the October 7th alignment. So that's going to come real quick, right? First of all, it's exciting. Nothing happened in March, although I felt something huge. And I felt just this week, this is March 24th, I'm shooting this. You're seeing it on the 25th. I felt a big shift into something very positive and a lot of really crazy stuff going on in the beginning of the year. A lot of turmoil, decisions, not feeling all that stable. And I feel like things is settling down and there's some stability in our foundation. I felt a shift. All right. So I do believe that some of these things happening and aligning are like part of the program that helps us to go into a more stabilized place, and that I shared this with you before, that our abilities are going to be outstandingly, unbelievably mind-blowing, but not if you don't use them. Let's talk about the October 6th and 7th, 2026 alignment. Unlike the Easter alignment, which some astronomers debate, okay, it's a debate, the October 7th window features a rare, verifiable triple conjuncture in the early morning sky. So what's the event? On the morning of October 6th and 7th, 2026, Regulus Jupiter, and the moon will all align in a tight grouping in the constellation Leo. Another alignment that we can't predict what that means, right? But we know we're watching Regulus. We know we're watching the blue Hopi star, and they also have the red star. And he's talking about the blue and red. We're going to be watching all of this, okay? The gaze at approximately 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. local time in Giza time. This grouping will be rising in the east because Regulus rises at an azimuth of roughly 78 to 80 degrees. It sits much closer to the direct gaze of the Sphinx during the autumn months than it does in the spring. So he mentioned October 7th. It's possible that that's when it's going to happen. I don't know why he's switching, but he knows that there's no solid, and she hasn't given him a solid answer. He's just giving us a heads up. So let's just sit back and watch the show. The occultation, notably on October 6, 2026, there's a lunar occultation of Jupiter, followed by a close approach to Regulus. This means the king planet, Jupiter, and the little king star, Regulus, are being activated by the moon simultaneously. These things all activate each other. These are living conscious entities. Let's talk about the red star phenomenon on October 7th. He mentions the star appearing red. Factual cause: in early October, the atmospheric conditions in Cairo often involve higher dust concentrations from the Sahara. So when Regulus rises at a low angle on October 7th, the extinction effect of the atmosphere is at its peak, which can physically turn a blue star like Regulus a deep blood red color to the naked eye, just like it does our moon, okay? The Sphinx pause. And we've heard Casey talk about this, that when this happens, that there will be a discovery in one of the paws of the Sphinx. I'm waiting for that one, but not until we're ready. And he says over and over again that all of his predictions can be changed and that we are in charge and that that won't happen until we go into a higher consciousness. This is our mission. The ancient texts and modern researches, like those following the Edgar Casey Halls of Records theory, suggest that specific shadow alignments between the Sphinx paws occurred during the autumn equinox window. So that's late September, early October, not just the spring. So the two dates theory. Bledsoe has clarified in various interviews, including his book UFO of God, which I got, and that the lady gave him a window. By the way, he held back in that book. He didn't tell a lot of things. He didn't talk about the missiles, that something was going to happen drastically when the missiles started. So that's why I'm waiting for this stuff to show up, because we're in the middle of that. All right. So, and that can't keep going. Trust me. There's going to be some intervention, but they cannot infringe on free will. Who are they? Beings that are beyond limitation, 110 unlimited, that are totally affected by our low frequency behavior. All right. Easter 2026, April 5th, representing the seed or the announcement of the new knowledge. So let's watch. We're going to see what happens April 5th. Here's another one. It may come and go. I don't know. She keeps appearing in around Easter. October 7th, representing the harvest or the physical manifestation of that knowledge. The significance: October 7th is historically and biblically significant in many traditions as the date of judgment or sealing, which fits the narrative of a timeline split where the frequency of humanity is finally locked in. So everyone is watching Easter 2026, but are they missing the October 7th Triple King alignment? On that night, Jupiter, Moon, and Regulus converge directly in the gaze of the Sphinx. Interesting, right? It is not just a sign in the sky, it's the date of the new knowledge becomes a physical reality in our world. Are you ready for the second half of the prophecy? Let's talk about the timeline, the global event, the sign, and what's supposed to happen. So I'm going to give you this recap. April 5th, 2026, Easter, Bledsoe prophecy, Regulus rises red. The frequency seat, the new feminine divine light enters the Earth's field. It's a soft but powerful frequency. Okay, so remember, if we don't see a big event, she doesn't appear, or some craft lands, takes over, it could be a frequency shift. Be ready to feel that. Some of you may go, whoa, something shifted like I did in December, and just recently, last few days, said something else shifted. And it's good. It's good, right? April 25th through 26th, the lunar occultation of Regulus, the vagus nerve surge, a flash of information from the heart hits the intuition. Virgo viewers of this will feel an intense buzzing or dizziness. Now, why? This is energy, right? We're electromagnetic fields, so this is powerful stuff. October 7th, the Triple King conjunction Moon Jupiter Regulus. The DNA lock, the new frequency is solidified. The body must fully integrate the energy or experience major somatic friction, fatigue, and anxiety. So it won't go without some kind of other stuff going on because the body has to adjust. So, following up with the Hopi Blue Star prophecy, which I talked about, we must address the internal signal. While the Hopi tablets point to global signs, Chris Bledsoe's prophecy for April 2026 points directly to our DNA. So I'm going to give you three physical signs, all right? The vagal surge, intense heat or buzzing at the base of your skull. Your nerve is right there, okay? It connects to the rest of your body, to your chakras, right? This is your nervous system unplugging from the old survival matrix. Sensory repulsion, suddenly finding normal things, processed food. Oh God, if you knew what was in it. Loud media or toxic environments, physically unbearable. Your body's rejecting the old world density. My friends and I just were saying how we're changing friendships. We have a low tolerance level, not because we aren't compassionate, but because we no longer tolerate behavior that's not really contributing to anything in the new world in a positive way. You feeling that? Doesn't make that person wrong, or you love them less. Just going to pull away, right? Remember, some of these people can be your best teachers too, so don't run from everything. The heart center pulse. We talked about the heart center, a literal physical pressure in your chest that feels like a second heartbeat. This is the feminine divine frequency activating the Regulus point in your DNA. So with all of these changes, whether they mean anything, whether it's the Hopi star or Chris Bledsoe's star, or it's kicking off this feminine divine, it's already happening. It is not one event like, oh, we're sitting around waiting. Well, let's see when it happens. And people are like, oh, we're saved. You're saving us now with your choices of being a co-creator and living that life now. So I'm going to give you a little exercise here we're going to do. And I just saw somebody talk like this. This was super cool. When you desire to make a change, there's no technique to go to, as what I believe is going to that to manifest this is something in between you and this. I told you on the other video, you are no longer the student. You are also the light worker that teaches you. And those people are also teachers. We're all learning and students, but we are now all just co-creators. All right. It's time to claim your co-creation. So what I want you to know is that means every thought creates. So the old world looks to law of attraction. I'll do a technique or I'll have a board. I'll do all these things. And what it is you think that that is going to give you this. Be this. It's already done. It's done. Now you say, but it's not. I'm seeing all these. Yes, give it time. We're in a 3D world. It takes a while for things to catch up. When I do this, it shows up. Do not box yourself in. Send light and love to this planet. You, as Edgar Cayce said, will be the part of the prayer that changes the entire planet. And it only takes one person, and then 2 and 3 and 10. Those of you who want to join my membership or go into the One Conscious Creator Vault, that's down there also. We're meeting Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern, and we're going to start to host these meetings and talk about this. It's time to go into community. But if you want to change your life, you desire something, know it is done instead of doing the things to get it. Does this make sense? The things to get it are saying, I don't have it. I need to do these things to get that, which says, I don't have it. Having it, know it is done. Bible says it. Know it is done. Tough, isn't it? But it doesn't. Yes, it doesn't feel like it. go into the feeling. And when you see these things happening, when you feel this shift that's going on out there, know that that is part of the event. It's gradual. All right. We can't have things just plopped on us immediately. People would freak out. All right. Although, we say we'd be okay if something landed on the lawn here, but I wonder how many of us actually would be okay with that. All right. So know that these dates that I gave you today, we're just going to watch and have fun with them. Don't take them so seriously. And if you feel something, yes, this is great. That's part of the shift of the divine feminine coming in. That I believe is already happening. And I want you to know that this short period of time when we're in is going to determine what happens here on out. And that whatever conflicts going on this planet will be resolved with our focus on being that. Going into that consciousness instead of saying, well, I'll pray to get that. I'll put the board up to get that. No, it's like, I see peace. I speak peace. I send light and love. I have compassion. I am not going to argue anymore because that person's as right as I am. Why? Because they have free will and whatever they believe is right for them. You don't have to change somebody's mind. Don't have to correct somebody. Just respect the separation and individualism that we came here to experience because we aren't individuals at all, not truly. Our consciousness is one. That you do to the least of us, you do to me. If you hate the least of us, that evil person, you're doing it to Christ, to the source, to you, mostly you. That comes back to you. So what you're putting out is immediate. Okay? I want you to know that these dates don't have to be in stone, that no one can know the time, right? However, we can create whatever we desire, and 2026 is an exciting, beautiful year for you to celebrate. Start celebrating now. Why? Because it's already done. Go into the consciousness, it's already done. Celebrate it. And this will, all of a sudden, the reality will be the celebration of the new world, the feminine, that would never harm a creature, a person, definitely not bomb our planet, right? That's the old way. And I just want to remind you that people do things because they think it's right for them. And they may be coming from ego, wherever they come from. Sometimes they think they're doing the right thing. As a lot of spiritual people think that. Oh, I'm going to protest this or do that. I'm doing the right thing. I'm opposing something when they're actually just still in opposition, just like anybody else, right? So go in with compassion and know that just in ignorance, I don't mean that in a mean way. Ignorance is not consciousness. When you're conscious, you know. I call it the knowing. Guys, want to read my book? I actually talked about this, I think, a year and a half when that book came out. I talked about the knowing. We're in it. You want to know what the knowing is? It's the last chapter in the book. I think you're going to really enjoy it. It talks about being one, being the source, and being the creator of everything with a thought. And when you go into that and you hold that power right now, all things are possible. There's nothing you can't change in your life. No more karma. You can step out of it. Understand, learn, ask for forgiveness for being ignorant, but you're always loved. There's nothing really to forgive. It's all part of the learning experience because you are whole and perfect, strong and powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. Go into my description. I have all kinds of amazing things from companies that don't pollute the planet. The One Conscious Creator Vault is open now. And if you want to join that membership, every 30 days, I give you lessons on how to shift from you into being you. Using your consciousness. How do you use it? How to live sustainably. What does that mean? It's a lot of fun. And then conscious contribution. How do we contribute? How do we earn doing good things? A lot of people, you shouldn't charge doing good things. I said, oh, so I can charge doing nasty stuff, polluting the planet. This old thinking. All right. It just is. It's silly. Wouldn't you rather earn doing good things than things that are destructive or not good for you? Start thinking more about that new earth because you have to just be it. Okay, you're whole and perfect. I'm going to say it again. Strong and powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. That's from the Master Key System. Let me know if you want me to start going into the raw readings, the Master Key System. I actually used to do that years ago on this channel. Maybe we need to pull it back out and start looking at that. All right, let's follow these dates and have fun with it. They're coming up pretty quick. I'll see you in the next video. Namaste.